Same person, same credit profile, same week. One bank approved a $21,000 limit. Another bank looking at the exact same file approved $500. Not $500 less, $500 total. And here's the part that should bother you. It wasn't a score difference. The scores were identical. It wasn't even a rule difference. The person cleared both banks. Headline rules, it was a flawed difference. 4 layers down that almost nobody teaches. Today, I'm going to show you the 4-layer stack sitting underneath every approval decision and exactly how to figure out which layer killed your application. Hey, I'm Flo. I run the Credit to Capital Blueprint, where we walk through what actually works in 2026. Not what worked 3 years ago and got copy-pasted onto YouTube ever since. Last week, we went inside the inquiry layer, the moves that tank an app spree before it starts. This week, I'm going to show you the whole stack that inquiry layer lives inside. Because the inquiry layer, that's just one piece of one of these 4 layers. If you're new here, hit subscribe and turn on notifications. Let's get into it. Let me start with the idea that ties this whole thing together, because it's a thing almost every credit channel gets. When you hear a headline room, say you're under Chase 524, you didn't just get approved. The way I look at it, you got let into the room. That's it. Clearing the rule makes you eligible to be evaluated. It doesn't make you approved. There are 3 more layers waiting inside that room, and your application has to clear all of them in order. Here's the lens I use. Underneath every prime issuer's headline rule, there's a 4-layer stack. Layer 1 is the hard binary gates. Pass or fail. No gradation. No negotiating. Layer 2 is the score floor. Layer 3 is the soft code gates. Utilization, inquiries, your income picture, your total credit, all the stuff that compounds. And layer 4 is the issuer specific code gates. The weird rules that only one bank runs. And I want to be straight with you about what this model is. No bank publishes a document that says, here are our 4 layers. This is the diagnostic lens I use. A way to organize what's happening underneath the rule so you can figure out which layer killed your application. It's a teaching tool, not an official standard. But once you see underwriting this way, you can't unsee it. The reason the layers matter is the order. Layer 1 fires before layer 2. Layer 2 fires before layer 3. So a 720 score, clean layer 2 with 160-day late payment in the last 12 months is dead at Chase, regardless of that score. The binary gate fires before the score ever gets read. People stare at their 720 and can't understand the denial. It's because they're looking at layer 2 when layer 1 already entered the conversation. So let me go back to that opening story because it's the cleanest example of the whole stack in one shot. Same profile, same week. Bank of America approves $21,000. US Bank approves $500. And I want to be clear, those exact numbers are a field example, the kind of gap I've seen this produce, not a benchmark, I'm promising you. But the mechanism behind it is rock solid, and it's the whole point of this video. It wasn't the score identical, it wasn't the headline rule cleared at both. It was layer 4, specifically how each bank weights a deposit relationship. At US Bank, the deposit relationship is load bearing. For their better cards, an existing relationship is basically the unlock for any meaningful starting limit on a cold application. No relationship, cold app, you get the courtesy $500 and a thanks for applying. The relationship isn't a bonus there, it's a gate. At Bank of America, that same deposit relationship is augmentative. It helps. It can soften some of the application velocity map. It bumps your approval odds. It earns you better rewards. But it's not the thing standing between you and a real limit. So a cold app at BOA can still come back at $21,000 because the relationship was never the gate in the first place. Same applicant, same week, two banks. One treats the relationship as a gate. The other treats it as a bonus. That's not a rule difference. That's a layer 4 floor difference. And if you don't know which bank's gate on relationship, you walk in cold. Get the $500 and blame your credit. Your credit was fine. Okay, let's walk the layers one at a time. Starting at the top, layer 1, the hard binary gates, pass or fail. No scores save you here, and reconsideration recovers roughly 0% of these. If a binary gate fired, the human on the recon line can't override it. The computers running the rule. Each prime issuer has its own set. Let me give you the documented ones, and I'll flag where a number is a community reported pattern versus a rule you can verify. Chase. The famous one is 524, and most people state it wrong. It's 5 personal credit card accounts opened in the last 24 months across any issuer, not 5 inquiries, 5 accounts. Closed cards still count if they were open in that window. Denied applications don't count. And there's a second separate Chase gate people forget, the 230. Chase usually won't approve more than 2 personal card applications in any 30-day window. That one's about how fast you're applying, not how many accounts you hold. 2 different layer 1 gates at the same bank. American Express. AmEx runs its own application map. Roughly 1 new AmEx card every 5 days and no more than 2 in any 90-day window. And there's an account count ceiling. About 5 AmEx credit cards and 10 charge cards held at once. Your green, gold, platinum charge cards count separately from the revolving credit cards. Nobody else applies that rule. That's a layer 1 gate that has nothing to do with your score. Bank of America, the 2-3-4 rule. Generally 2 new BOA cards in 2 months, 3 in 12 months, 4 in 24. And there's a broader cross-issuer pattern people call 312. If you open 3 or more cards anywhere in the last 12 months, your odds drop at a lot of issuers. City's commonly reported as 1 card in 8 days, 2 in 65 days, and 1 every 95 days for some products. I'll be honest, those specific windows are community reported heuristics, not something City publishes. Treat them as directional. US Bank, conservative. For their top cards, they really want to see an existing relationship, which is exactly the $500 side of our story. Here's a layer 1 takeaway. If one of these fired, you weren't almost approved. You were never in the evaluation, and no recon call is going to talk a computer out of a binary rule. Layer 2, the score floor. And notice I said floor, not line. Nobody publishes an official minimum because approval also leans on your income and your history. But the working bands hold up. Chase and US Bank want you around 700 plus for their prime cards. AmEx, Citi, Bank of America sit a little lower, roughly 680 to 700. Capital One and Discover go down into the low to mid 600s on their entry cards, which is why they're the rebuilder friendly name. 2 things make layer 2 trickier than a single number. First, it's bureau dependent. Chase tends to pull Experian. So if your Equifax is 720, but your Experian reads 670, Chase is evaluating a 670 file. Same person, 2 bureaus, 2 different score floors in play. Your good bureau doesn't help if the bank's pulling your weaker one. Second, and this is the trap, being above the floor doesn't save you if a layer 1 gate already fired. Remember the ordering. That 720 sitting under 524 with a recent late payment never even gets to the score check. Layer 1 ended it first. The score floor only matters once you've cleared the binary gates above it. Real quick, if you're getting value from this, comment the word denied, and I'll send you the debugging a denial checklist I built for this video. It walks the 4 layers in order with the exact which layer failed diagnostic, plus the lender variation table. Alright, layer 3 is where most denials actually live, and there's a piece of math here almost nobody teaches. Layer 3, the soft code gates. This is utilization inquiries per bureau, your average age of accounts, your stated income versus what a 4506T would show, your debt to income, your total credit limit, your DROC free history. These are the soft ones. Degraded doesn't mean dead, it means weaker. Here's the math nobody teaches and is the most important thing in this section. Soft co-gates don't add up in a straight line, they compound. From an aggregated data set of 340 documented credit app sprees, the pattern is consistent. 1 degraded co-gate, you usually survive. 2 degraded at the same time is where denials start clustering. 3 or more, you're effectively done. I want to be clear, there's a community data set, not a number any bank publishes, but the shape of it matches everything I've seen in the field. 1 weak spot is survivable. 2 weak spots at once is a different animal. Let me give you the one that breaks people's brains. Total credit limit. Most people think a big pile of available credit is pure proof of trustworthiness, and at a lot of issuers it is. But there's a cluster of lenders, some credit unions especially, that read high total available credit as latent risk. The thinking is you could go max all of it out. Community members flag a rule of thumb at one of these. Roughly once your total available credit passes about 1x your annual income, you're in no-go territory. I can't confirm that's published policy anywhere, so take the exact number as community reported. But the principle is real, and here's why it matters. The person with sub 3% utilization on $200,000 of total credit, the clean profile everybody chases, is the exact profile that gets denied at one of these issuers. Clean utilization, denied for too much credit. That's a layer 3 code gate doing its job. And bureau shows up here too. Your inquiries don't live in one place. They're counted per bureau. Lock the bureaus you're not applying to. Route your application to the single bureau puller, and you control which inquiry count the bank actually see. Same play we covered last week, now sitting inside the stack. Layer 4, the issuer specific code gates, the weird ones. These are the rules only one bank runs, and they're the reason a rule you learned at one issuer doesn't transfer to another. We already did the big one. Relationship weighting, load bearing at US Bank, augmentative at BOA. Here are a few more. AmEx has a couple. There's a ceiling on credit limit increase requests. You generally can't ask for more than about 3 times your current limit, and a single very large ask can actually trip a financial review. That financial review is a 4506T. A signed authorization that lets them pull your IRS transcript directly. And here's the thing people miss. Once that review fires, it's a risk model decision, not just income verification. Even matching tax records can still end in limit cuts. The documentation is almost theater. The model already decided. So the move isn't don't trip it. Build spend over months, not days. And don't make a giant limit increase ask out of nowhere. Capital One runs a sandbox, a risk tier bucket on its rebuilder cards where your limits just freeze, and the escape that most people try doesn't work. Switching to a different card in the same tier doesn't break the bucket. The only way out is getting approved into a higher tier, a saver one, a venture. which pulls you up and out. Same tier product change, you stay stuck. Citi has a documented reputation in the community for volatility under specific triggers. A return payment or an auto pay that bounces can prompt a sharp account review. And unlike a normal late payment ding, those cuts don't always reverse. I'm not going to put a dollar figure on that because that's a community data point, not published Citi policy. The operational takeaway is simple. Never run Citi AutoPay against an account that could go negative. 4 different banks, 4 rules that exist nowhere else. That's layer 4. That's why you can't learn one issuer and port it everywhere. So here's how you actually use all of this. The next time you get denied, or better, before you apply, you stop asking, why was I denied? And you start asking, which layer failed? That's the denial walk protocol. 4 questions in order. 1. Layer 1. Did a hard binary gate fire? 524, a recent serious late, a bankruptcy window, an ID mismatch? If yes, recon recovers basically 0. Stop. Don't waste a call. 2. Layer 2. Is your score under the floor on the bureau that actually pulled? Recon only helps here if your score has moved since the denial. 3. Layer 3. Which soft Colgate degraded, and did 2 of them compound? This is Recon's sweet spot, but only if the Colgate has since improved. Paid your utilization down between the denial and the call? That's the highest leverage recon you'll ever do. 4. Layer 4. Did an issuer specific gate fire? No relationship at US Bank, the AmEx 3x ceiling, a Citi cut? Recovery there is issuer specific, and then only then reconsideration with the decision letter in hand asking what additional information will help you reconsider and actually providing it. Recon isn't magic. It's a layer 3 tool. Bring something new or don't bother. I put the 10 most common failure modes in the checklist. Things like reading a rule in isolation, blaming the rule when a code gate actually failed, treating same profile different outcome as some anomaly when it's just a floor difference, and walking the stack only after a denial instead of before. Comment denied and I'll send it over. So that's the stack. Clearing the rule gets you into the room. The 4 layers decide what happens once you're in it. Walk them in order and a denial stops being a mystery. It becomes a diagnosis. If this was helpful, comment denied below, and I'll share the checklist. Subscribe so you don't miss what's next. And remember, this content is for educational purposes only. Always do your own research before making any financial decisions. See you next time.